Hello, this is Chelsea Smart from Chelsea Cities with another video from my trip to Costa Rica from 2023. Hello, good afternoon. This is Chelsea again. This will be this series of this video and series of pictures will be about my city tour with VIP City Tours. Remember, go directly to their website and book your excursion. Anyway, the city tour was actually very informative. I didn't get to take it until later in the week when I got here, but we were on a double-decker bus, and this tour also included lunch and a visit to the Central Market for shopping. So our first stop was at what used to be their original airport, and it's now their Museum of Art. So we got to go in there and look at their exhibits, and they had this one room with a complete mural showing the history of Costa Rica from the pre-Columbian time, well, not that much, pre-colonization all the way through current times, at least what they could put on the wall. And these were like very well sculpted and lots of detail. I can't even describe it. I'll have pictures included in this presentation so you can see. But on the double-decker bus, it turned out that there were groups of people there were only two countries represented. So I was the solo traveler, and then there were two couples from Florida. I don't think they were originally from Florida, but I mean from the United States. And then there were three couples from Canada. So that was the sum total of the people who were on this big double-decker bus. Like I said, they have a minimum that they will put on a tour, and that's two. But I doubt if this tour would have gone with two people because this double-decker bus was huge. My first time on a double-decker bus. I enjoyed it immensely. So everybody was really nice. I think from who I'm making this video for, be prepared that when you're coming here on your solo travel, you will likely be the only black person on the trip. So be prepared. Most of the travelers are white, middle-aged, or sometimes younger, but middle-aged people who are close or maybe in retirement, right? So I was fortunate that there was a guy from Puerto Rico on the trip, but he was with his wife, and yeah, that's how we did the trip. So we went to the market. When you go into the market, they take you directly. They tour you around, but our tour guide was giving us more of a history of the market, so we weren't walking around and haggling. So he took us to, which I thought was pretty cool, one of the original ice cream parlors that they have there. They still make the same flavor that they always made, and it's only one, and it was delicious. I can't even describe what it is, but you can ask anybody for the original ice cream shop, and they should be able to point you there. I'll link a picture. So then we also went to their national park, and we saw their national monument, which showed when they overthrew this person who tried to come in and force his laws on Costa Rica. He wanted to take over. And this guy, I'm not going to tell you the name, but you'll hear about it. He was from Kentucky. Yeah. So they had uprisings against him and his craziness because he was bringing over soldiers and stuff trying to enforce his will and become a dictator. So we went there, and what else did we do? Oh, the statue. The statue of this event depicts the guy who they were trying to toss out of the country, and then there was a woman. There are four or five women representing the different nations in Central America that rose up against him. And they said they use women in particular because they're the backbone of the society, and they were driving a lot of the pushback. So, you know, they're very, they say they're very feminist in that regard. So that's good. They say also that they try to balance out the inequity in pay here in Costa Rica. But there are a lot of jobs, especially tourist jobs. They're only men, at least the ones that drive the van and guide you, you know, to the volcanoes and whatnot. I've not seen any women doing that. So like I said, we had lunch at this place, and it was actually a good lunch, and it's one of their traditional lunches, which we had the traditional lunch on each tour we went to. I don't have anything against it because I absolutely love the traditional food. It always includes beans and rice, and that's my favorite. I eat that at home all the time. But this restaurant was in Chinatown. That's another story. The government had to make a Chinatown because there was the Chinese. They made a contract with the Chinese, and part of that was that they would make a Chinatown. We went by it. It looked like it was like one little street, but I could be wrong. Then, as part of that tour that day, we ended up at the Pre-Columbian Gold Museum. And we had to go through all kinds of background checks for this museum. It was impressive. It was like Fort Knox. But the amount of gold in there, I can understand. They don't want anybody to even attempt to make a try for this. Now, I already talked about the museum, the Jade Museum, and there wasn't this kind of security there. Make of that as you what you will. But this one is, I think it's joined to a bank, but it was really intense trying to get in and get out. Not just anybody gets to come in. So, and of course they have to pay, and then you have to go through, security there, and they'll take your bag and check it for, things that they think you shouldn't have. So what else did we do? That day we went to the National Theater, and of course all these places have national theaters because if they're colonized by Spain, the aristocrats came over and wanted their due, so they wanted to have their life in Spain over here. So they made this big national theater, and they have some original sculptures that they've brought from Italy that are there. And they have replicas on the outside, but on the inside they have the real deal. And you're only allowed to go in the lobby. So needless to say, the lobby was crowded, but the statues and the pictures were nice. And everybody was gathered around. There was one statue from a local Costa Rican that was getting a lot of attention, especially from people from Costa Rica. So that was pretty nice to see. Of course, I took a picture of that. So then we went back to the hotel. That was the end of our tour. Some of the people seem to use their privilege, and I say this because they were frequently late to the bus, or when he said, meet back here in this amount of time, they were late. So, and like I told you, they weren't the Americans, they were the Canadians. All right, so the next trip I'll talk about is our jungle cruise. Now, jungle cruise took place on Thursday of the first week I was here. All right, that's the next video. Bye.